Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week episode of the Groomer's Cut. We are in our interview week. So this week, we are interviewing Sorry, we went over this earlier.
Palya.
I didn't want to do that wrong. Palya. She is the Enrichment Groomer. If tonight is your first time with us, please give StreamYard permission so that we can see your name over in the chat. StreamYard. Restream. We're on Restream now. And we will be on 6 platforms this evening. So I am joined by Michelle Knowles, Chrissy Newmeyer-Smith, and Miss Samantha. So tell us, all of us work in that, the holistic approach. We get always asked questions. Why do you do it? What makes it holistic? What is your take on that term? And I don't know if you use more enrichment.
Right. So when I was speaking about enrichment to Muriel Quendo back months ago, I referred to enrichment grooming as a cousin into the holistic world. Enrichment to me is very similar to a holistic, where you consider the pet's emotional, mental, and physical well-being. So you're taking care of the whole pet. And the way we do that is through enrichment activities. And this could be through treat-based activities, or this can be through non-treat-based activities. And what it really does, and it helps you build relationship with the pets in your care, and a relationship builds to have them help trust you and feel secure with you and make their grooming experience as great as possible. So we do this by enhancing the grooming experience through enrichment activities.
And what are some of those activities?
So a very popular one that works really great in our salon, and it's one of the ones that I actually started out with first, and it seems to be very popular, is for the treat-based is the licky mats and snuffle mats. And if you're not familiar with what licky mats or snuffle mats are plastic or vinyl. They're little plates for the dogs, and they have little nubs around them. And you can place yogurt, you can place their wet food, you can place dog safe peanut butter, anything that's dog friendly and that they like, you can freeze them. So that way it takes the dog longer. And what they do is a licking sensation with little nubs on there. It actually creates them to relax, and it does brain balance work for them. So that's what a licky mat is. And then the other thing we use is a snuffle mat. And those are material based. So you can get them in fleece. You can get those you can actually look up and do like a DIY. So there's different ways you can do that. And they have snuffle mats and snuffle balls. And those you put like training treats in there, or the liver treats in there, or their kibble. You can actually feed them that way. And that actually works with their nose work and scent work. So that way it's also stimulating the brain. Non-treat based that we use that's very popular is loose leash walking. And what this does, if you have a dog that is overstimulated, or a dog that might be nervous to the point where they're like shaking, or maybe they're just like their emotions are kind of taken over, by using the loose leash walking, it helps control their emotions, and it calms them down while exerting some of that energy. Those are the most popular. There's many, many other ones we can do. There's anything from like ball play, if you really want to get really enhanced, and there's story time with the stylist. That's where you can sit with the dog in your care. You can sit on the floor with them, or you can sit with them in the tub or on the table. Anything that makes the dog most comfortable. And you just read them a story, and just sitting there and reading to them, talking to them. It's relationship building, and it just builds that bond between you and the pet in your care.
Awesome. I love story time. That's great.
Yeah. And the dogs love it too.
Yep.
You wouldn't think that they would, but they really just like the interaction. And a lot of these things don't have to be really long in the grooming process. It could be a few minutes. It really all depends on what your goal is with that pet. If you have a puppy, it's really nice for them to feel that bond and to feel like they can, they can trust you. Get on their level. You sit down. Maybe you can do cuddle time with them while you're speaking with them and reading that book. And it just really helps engage that pet with you.
That's
And
really
lacking an actual firm rate, what is I'm sure that you charge for that over and above the groom.
Yes, actually, there's 3 ways that you can actually charge for enrichment. It really is depending how you want to apply it in your daily grooms, your routines. And the 3 ways that we actually charge and that I would recommend is, number 1, if you're going to do this and you're going to commit yourself to doing whatever that pet needs. So if you have, let's say, a scared dog and you need to take a little while with that dog, like an extra 15, 20 minutes, and maybe you need to do some key-touch massage or story time or even like extended walking with them, anything that's going to help them. It really depends on the dog, and what signals you're showing is how you would actually determine what you want to do with that pet. And that's why you don't have to be a trainer, but knowing some basic behavior and learning how to work with that pet and engage with that pet will help you almost naturally know what that pet needs. And so depending on how long you're going to take, I actually recommend knowing what your hourly production rate is. So that means that you would know how much you are to make an hour, or even break it down per minute. And if this is going to go above and beyond the haircut, then you would do the additional, charge per minute. If you're going to do what's best for that pet and you're just going to incorporate it in every groom, so you say every pet, and I believe that every pet can benefit from enrichment grooming, whether they're a senior dog, a scared dog, timid, even a perfect dog. Why shouldn't a perfect dog have just a better experience? Just because they're being really good doesn't mean that they don't deserve a reward. And so if you're going to incorporate it into your daily grooms and you're going to make that commitment and you say to yourself, I'm going to incorporate this into my whole salon or my grooming facility or whatever facility, it could be a vet facility, it doesn't have to be just grooming salon or mobile or anything like that. This can work in any pet care facility. That is an additional service that you're providing. Right. And so you should be charging more. Mm-hmm. Because you are providing that high quality care for that pet. Mm-hmm. And of course, you're going to be taking extra time. So you can just do an all across the board price increase onto your prices, which, every pet owner needs to determine what is best for their facility based on what their numbers and their needs and what they all do, because we all know everyone charges differently in every state and every faction of the world. Mm-hmm. So you can do that. And there's also what we do is we have 2 grooming training programs. One is for puppies, mm-hmm. and one is for, we call it like a rehab program that we work with pets that might be aggressive or might actually be even really untrustworthy, where they might actually get to the point where they don't want to trust you enough to get in your table or through the door or take get the water on them, like whatever. We all know that there's a lot of pets out there that just does not trust, whether it's because they had a bad experience or they're new to our facility, or for whatever reason might have happened. So those pets need extra care. It doesn't mean we should rush to them to hurry up and get it done. Actually, I feel that those pets need a little extra attention. Mm-hmm. So with that.
Yeah, and that can be any life stage at all, right? For any reason, really.
Yeah. Right, exactly. And what that is through the training programs, what you would do is you set up 6 or 8 weeks, or whatever you feel is comfortable. We have a 6-week program for a puppy and an 8-week program for our rehab program. And they come in and you don't want to have it any longer than 20, 25 minutes. And this does not mean you're going to put them on your table and get them used to the clipper or get them used to the nail trim or anything like that. This means you're going to be focusing on relationship building. So you may have them come in, and maybe that's when you do a 15-minute story and maybe a 5-minute relaxation technique. Or maybe you bring them in and maybe you work on focus work, like with loose leash walking, and you get the energy out of that. This might be a program that you just touch their ears and touch their feet. I've had a black Russian terrier who I couldn't get near his head, near his ears. So when I brought him to my training program, I had a full 20, 25 minutes of just showing him it's okay, and just worked with his head and worked with his in a non-threatening manner. So it wasn't like I was rushing to get a clipper in his ear or pluck his ears or try to get a scissor near his face. It was just literally me just trying to bond with him and touch his ears, his face, and just relax his outer, around his neck and stuff like that, just to gain his trust.
Mm-hmm. That sounds very much like my routine naturally. without the focus like treat thing or the story time, but we often spend lots of time together talking, cuddling. I think that's a great paradigm to work in. I think that's really nice. What a great concept.
The thing is I don't really feel like I am the only person that does this. I really feel like a lot of people do this. They don't know how to, they're not aware of that maybe they should be charging for it, or they may not be aware that there's so many other people out there that don't do this, and that they are providing additional service. I would like to make this an industry standard, just as I know you all like to provide the whole pet academy for that reason. It's all about making the pet's experience during the grooming process better. I had a dog. He was a Kerry Blue Terrier. His mom adopted him when he was 3. And he had an unfortunate story in his beginning years. He was used as a bait dog. Very sad story. He had 2 broken legs, and he had severe PTSD around other dogs and anything in that kind of an atmosphere. So I had to do him by himself after hours with an assistant. And so this way we can work with him. And I worked with him for several years. And no matter how much I seemed to try to work with him, he still had that PTSD that came in every time I went to go brush his front legs or clip his front legs. It all came back. So when I started this enrichment program, one day he came in and he wasn't having like the worst day, but you could tell he was struggling. And I said, you know what? I just wonder. So with this, pet parents' permission, of course, because you always want to get your owner's permission for, cover yourself and make sure there's no allergies or anything like that. So we definitely want to be transparent with our clientele about what we're doing. I had a snuffle mat with some liver treats, and I put it on my grooming table, and I let him just get distracted. I let him get involved with the nose work that he was doing. And I was able to groom him start to finish without any problems at all. Mm-hmm. He was so engaged with his nose work and with the snuffle mat. It took away the anxiety of what I was going to do. And it was very rewarding knowing that for that time period and for that groom, I took away a lot of that anxiety. And there actually, at this point, there were other dogs around. I got to the point where he can be in a salon with other dogs, which was great because
Wonderful. Yeah.
So
that's huge.
Different dogs,
Well, and I think more groomers are learning about this stuff, but they still don't quite know how they can incorporate it easily into their day. And I really like how you've broken down like some things that don't even involve treats. Treats are a fantastic tool, but I know for many situations they can be a little bit dangerous, a little bit risky, But just to have a couple of things that could take just a few minutes, and it can make such a big difference. And I think many of us are doing it. But maybe not as structured as you have laid out. Yeah.
Right. You're very articulate in translating that into actual services. And I applaud you for that.
Thank you so much. And when we think about enrichment, the whole definition about enrichment is enhancing an experience or enhancing. And so that's why you're not very limited. There are so many ways to enhance an experience, even if it's playing the music that's correct for the dog and not playing stuff that might make them more anxious or might agitate them if they're aggressive. It's about taking it from the dog's perspective and what might be pleasing to their ear. It may even be, I know a lot of people, I personally don't Use oils, but I know oils is something that you can bring into it, and that's a form of enrichment. That's where a lot of the holistic stuff kind of connects. The Reiki is another great way that you can incorporate it. So there are so many ways, and it can be anything from something that's calming and soothing, all the way to just having like a fun ball toss throw. We've had it that even after the grooms, maybe a dog is waiting for their pet parent to come pick them up, and maybe they're just waiting, and instead of them just sitting there waiting in a crate or an enclosure, you have a few minutes, you play ball with the dog, and he's leaving with ending with a good note and a positive experience in that way. So it doesn't have to be just a distraction during the groom, because the dog may not like the grooming. This should enhance their experience at any time during their visit, and no matter what type of personality they have. Senior pets, a lot of people kind of let the senior pets just, I don't want to say they dismiss them, but maybe, they're not puppies, so they're not like cutesy wootsy, or, so they kind of just do what they need to do and move on. Those senior pets, their nose does not stop working. And I had a dog, I actually used to pet sit him at my home too. I knew this dog inside and out, him and his sister. I watched them for years and years. They were grooming pets of mine, plus I took them in my own home. I'm not a boarding daycare, but these pets, I just watched. They were like my adoptive dogs. And I'm like the Ritz-Carlton for that, with the dogs sleep in my bed, and they have fun, and they play, and I have a huge yard, so they never want to leave. Well, he was up in years. Unfortunately, last year, he did pass. He was 17 and a half years old, and he was a little Bichon. So the last year, I saw a decline in him, and just the way he walked. And you know how it is when they're elderly, like we've all seen those pets. His mom dropped him off, and for a groom, well, prior to that, we just had a snuffle mat on the floor, and he trotted over there, and I've never seen him trot so fast in a year. And he really got into the snuffle mat, even though there weren't treats in there. The scent of the treats were in there, and he really got engaged with it, to the point where his mom couldn't believe what a different personality he had during that. She went out and bought him a snuffle mat, and she used that tool at home to help him engage his mind, even at a senior age. Right. So there's no limit even on the age of a dog, because they all can have a great experience at any age.
Yeah. For our viewers watching, I did post the link to the snuffle mats on Etsy. Is that where you buy them?
Etsy's one place. Another place I got is somewhere local. I'm in Illinois, and I found a local person, Chelsea's Toys. She has them through her through her retail, and she's got really nice quality ones. And I know they're made in the USA, so I like to help support the economy. I support a local business owner, women business owner. So I try to support a small business as well. But I'm not very familiar with Etsy. I'm not really the Etsy person. So I'm sure that there are lots of great small business owners out there, women, it's just whatever you like, there are plenty of them out there.
Yeah, I was just going on to them as I'm looking at them and seeing, do you have, they're fairly expensive on some of them. So do you have multiples that you rotate through and wash them after, or how do
Most of them can go right through the regular wash.
Yeah, they go through the wash machine. And as long as you don't dry them, you don't want to dry them. We've had a couple of people dry them, and they work out. But you always want to sanitize all of your toys, all your snuffle mats, snuffle balls, whatever you're using, because of course you want to be careful of cross-contamination. And even if you have a pet that might have something that might be a treat-based, you want to make sure that you get all cleaned up and sanitized immediately after, because you don't want to leave it in an enclosure with a pet that may have an allergy. So you always want to practice safe protocols as well with that. And you want to make sure with any of your toys, if you are doing tennis balls, or if you're doing any kind of Kongs or anything like that, you always want to have the pet appropriate size, for the right size, because you don't want to have it where you have a tennis ball and a lap's throat, and then it's an emergency vet. So there is a little bit of education behind this, because you want to make sure that we are providing the right toys for the right pet, so that it doesn't lead to a unpleasant experience.
And also to be able to throw them through the wash Like Kong toys. I don't know how many people know this, but Kong toys can go through a dishwasher.
Yep.
I don't happen to own a dishwasher, but that's what I've been told.
Yeah,
But
you can
that you want something that's going to be easy to clean and just basically treat it like any of your other equipment in between pets.
And that was my first concern when I started getting introduced to enrichment and I started looking at the snuffle stuff, like the licky mats and everything. Those are real easy. You can take a scrub brush, you can take just soap, you can, those you can just clean in any facility, wash them down, anything like that. I was very concerned about the snuffles because I'm like, well, how are you gonna clean? And then what about drying time? And what about, you do got to think about that because it is when you're running a business, you have to think about time management as well. And so,
it might not just be the time with the dog. There's also this
right.
cleanup time, some
Yeah.
extra considerations.
Yes, exactly. But the snuffles are so easy to clean and they're so easy to sanitize and dry. If you leave them air dry, they're usually done by the next morning. So these are really simple things you can incorporate that are not going to be huge time gaps in your day.
And even if they are
the licky mats too.
Well, I was going to say, and even if they are like a amount of time, what we gain from that is that the time that we spend playing with a dog or bonding with a dog is the difference between a stranger wants to do things to me that I think are unpleasant, uncomfortable, or scary versus my friend is
Right.
going to try to do things for me that are unpleasant, uncomfortable, or scary. And that can totally shift the whole training regimen after that, because then the dog is thinking, well, you were so nice earlier. I play with the dogs when I'm doing house call. We play when I first come in, and we play before I leave. So their
Yeah.
first and last impression is like, but she likes me. She really, really likes me. And that could be roughhousing. I have a little terrier that the key to his heart is to tug with him and get him fully off the air and growl with him. And then others that just want some cute little snuggles and some like sweet talk and kisses and talking to them. And it's remarkable how little time can totally change the relationship and why that affects us.
Exactly. And I know one of the biggest questions I always get, or the biggest comments I even get, whether I'm speaking and it gets asked in the audience or if someone's emailing me is, we're short staffed and I have all these dogs and I'm booked all day and I don't really have time to spend more time on a dog. It was going to take a lot of time. And so I just don't know if I have time for this. And I don't think people are thinking about how it actually in the long run actually is going to help have you be more productive, help you have a better relationship, and how if you spend that 5 extra minutes, that can last a lifetime if you do that every single time. It's relationship building. And that pet that maybe you would have thought you had to send somewhere else, or maybe have a whole different way to control them, whether it's like having a comfort hold or anything that might be threatening to some dogs. This is just a more pleasant way. And overall, it's for the better. We should be in this for the benefit of the pet. And if it takes an extra 5 or 10 minutes, that really shouldn't be a main concern. And I understand that, but if it is, then you should be able to charge for it, because we do understand that people are in this industry, not only just to be with the pets, but to make a living as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and just charging accordingly, because you want to be able to spend that time. And by the way, can I just say that enrichment games are joyous for us?
Yes.
Like our stress level goes down when we spend a little bit of time enjoying the dogs.
and that's why in my seminars, I try to explain that it's just not benefiting the pets in our care. It's also benefiting our staff and our groomers, because it's, as a groomer, I've been grooming for 27 years. And I know that there's a lot of, lifetime groomers here as well, a lot of years between all of us. And how many times is it like, okay, another 7 up all up during the spring, or another 2 all, it's a lot of redundancy. And this breaks that up. And this really helps create higher job satisfaction for the groomers. And it really is stress relief. And when we're relaxed and the pets relax, it helps with bodily injuries for everybody involved. So this is the benefits just go on through everybody in the facility.
And it's so good for business when customers see dogs coming in happy. They want to come in, and that's really good for your customers, but also word of mouth. Like, my dog loves going to the groomer. I don't understand why yours wouldn't. It's so good for business.
Happiness sells. And I always say that people see their pets happy, they're going to feel comfortable bringing that pet to you. They're not going to be worried if you say, oh, it's going to be 3 or 4 hours. The feeling of guilt isn't going to be there because they know that their pet is in a place that they enjoy. And when they know that and they can feel that and they can really see that when they pick up their pet, and they just, it's like you're an extension of their family, and they feel safe and secure with you too. And that's connecting with your human clients, the ones that actually make those decisions. And that's so important. We currently have 400 reviews on our Google. And when we look at those, one of the reoccurring, because they kind of tell you what, if you look on your Google, they tell you. And the thing that we get is the customer service is great. And that part is because we believe in enrichment from the time they walk in the door to the walk until they leave, to my pet's happy, and my pet, I never see my pet so happy. And those ring true throughout so many reviews. So you have to at least recognize that that should be a goal with relating to your human clients along with your pet clients.
Yeah. I mean, what if it's the amount of time that you would have spent doing perfume and in a bandana? Like, I mean, those things customers might really like, but if your dog instead is coming home super happy because they spent a little bit of extra time doing goofy stuff, the same kind of amount of time, it doesn't take long.
You're spending that extra time because that lab is just so excited that you can't get the pet to settle down on your table, and you're spending that time just trying to get them to calm down. Just doing a little loose walking throughout the salon or anything like that. It's inside the salon. You don't need a big space for it. There's small activities you can do to bring down that anxiety level and that nervous level. And a lot of times it takes actually less time than it doesn't if you're just trying to get this dog's nails, And I know everyone's putting their dogs into these hammocks. I can't say I personally have ever used one of those hammocks, so I'm not speaking from experience. But it's less time to work with a licky mat or a snuffle mat than it is to put this dog in the hammock, So you can try, there's other alternatives, is what I'm saying, in order to make that dog have a great experience in your salon.
So I want to know, how did you get into this? What was it? I want to hear more about your business. And I mean, we talked a lot about that, and that's your core business for the shop, but how long have you been in business? Tell us a little about you.
So I opened up my business at 21 years old. I've been grooming since I was 17, and I opened up at 21. So when most people were going out to bars and having all kinds of fun, I was trying to figure out how to run a business, which I'd never been to college or anything like that. And of course, 20 something years ago, so I've been grooming for 27 years. Things were a lot different than they are now. You didn't have like Google and stuff. You had like the yellow pages. So it was, in a lot of ways, it was a lot simpler to open up and get those engagements. In some ways, it was harder. So I was 21 and I opened up my business, Absolutely Pawfect Pet Styling, in Palos Hills, Illinois. By this time, I've already been a competition groomer. I started competing 6 months after I got out of grooming school, and I was at the All-American, and I went to the Groom Expo. So it was time for a new adventure. And so I opened up my business. And so I've been, for a long time, I focused on the haircuts and the proper care, for the bathing and the drying and the haircuts and EQC breed standards and that kind of stuff. Later on in my career, I noticed that I always had like the pets that I could relate to. And when I started mentoring, this was a little bit harder to teach somebody because it just came naturally to me and just relating to these pets. And at the time, I really couldn't explain how I was doing it. And I mean, there would be people struggling with the dog, and I would just come over and the dog would be fine. And they would get like, So I wanted to try to, even though I know that it's hard to teach it, and I kept saying, less is more, less is more. And I was trying to like explain to them, and it was hard to really get it out. So after quite a few years in business, actually, I wanted to shift to being more of an entrepreneur than a pet groomer. And I wanted to run a business that was going to stand out from other businesses, because as we know, the pet grooming industry really just exploded. So With that said, I started taking business courses and I joined the IBPSA, and that's actually where I found the dog groups. And I was following the dog groups for quite a few years. I went to their workshops and I went through all this stuff. Well, after COVID, they had a mutt, what is it called? March Muttness or something. It was like a challenge. It was a 30-day challenge. And every day for 30 days, they would give you different challenges that you had to do for your business. So one of the challenges that we had to do is we had to find 3 new revenue streams for your business in order to create new revenue. And the dog group was really focused at the time on boarding and daycare and that kind of thing. So it was still in the pet industry, but it really wasn't groomer, direct. So they were all talking about like the snuffle mats and enrichment. And I heard the term enrichment so many times. And during one of the revenue streams, I was thinking there's got to be a way to incorporate this into the grooming. So I started doing research on the snuffle mats and the licky mats, and I started watching other videos about like different ways to incorporate that into training and boarding and daycare. And I just transferred it over into the grooming because at this point, my whole thing in my salon was we are here for the pets. And you can be the best groomer in the world, but if you don't treat a pet right, it doesn't mean you're a great groomer. Even though I still wanted to focus on good quality haircuts, I really wanted, and by this time we were doing the Yves Saint Bernard and all the different types of hair and skin. And, we were doing everything underneath the sun to try to educate ourselves further, going to all the shows and, anything we can as a business owner is trying to find out how to be a business owner. And it just was so natural to incorporate this enrichment into my salon. And so when I introduced it to my staff and I told them the reasons why we had to, that I felt it was important, I actually didn't even know if it was going to work, number one. And we were beta testing it. This was just something that we had on like March Muttness or whatever. They kind of thought I was a little crazy at first. And after I explained the benefits and we started actually seeing the changes in the dogs, and we started seeing how the environment shifted. And it was like a little bit at a time because it was a process. That's when we decided to become enrichment-based grooming. And after so much time of doing it in salon, because of course I wanted to make sure, we tried with different types of dogs and different size dogs and different groomers and just everything. I was reporting back to the dog groups kind of like, oh, this is what I did. And, not really thinking much, but I was just like excited that I got to take something of theirs and incorporate it. They actually had me on their platform and I actually started explaining it. And from there, it just kind of took off and I had more and more people interested and I had people really accepting. And then that's when I decided I wanted to introduce it to the grooming industry. And
well, we're glad you did.
Get it out there. And then from there, this year, I was actually set to retire from grooming in January of 2025. I was going to do it this year and next year, and I was going to retire from the grooming and just become like the business and do the financials and all the data, behind the scenes day-to-day stuff. Well, earlier this year in May, I actually incurred an injury here at home in my shoulder, and I have not been able to return back to grooming yet for not just that reason, but we also foster children, and we have 3 foster children living with us right now, a 2, a 3-year-old. So we've had some challenges with them. So I've been having to be a part-time stay-at-home mom and run my business. With all that, I decided to become a speaker in the industry, and I opened up my consulting business, the Enrichment Stylist, pet education consulting, to help other businesses not just become more profitable, but to be able to bring fun back into their business and make their job just satisfactory again, where they can love their businesses again. And I want them to help their staff. I want them to help their clients. And I just really want to get this out of there to anybody who's willing to listen.
Awesome. Very good. You have a lot going on.
Yeah, I do. I always, but I love challenges. I always, I'm kind of
That's
the person
a good business owner.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotta love the challenge.
That's the key right there.
Looking for, in fact, at the IBPSA, you know, everyone's got so much going on, and then we're like, but we want more. You know, like it's about. I
Bring it
thrive
on.
on
Yeah.
success.
Yeah, we get it.
I know you do. I know it, and that's the thing is, I love, and I still want to be part of the pet grooming industry. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to physically go back to the grooming part of it. I'm still kind of waiting to see what it shakes out on that. But if I'm not even able to be able to perform grooms on pets, I still want to give back to the grooming industry. I've had so many great people that gave to me as a young groomer. I learned from Jean Mulcahy, which she was a great inspiration when I was young. Paul Bryant, I was around when Liz Paul was around, and Terry DiMarino. There were so many icons that I saw, and to this day, a lot of them still give back. And I want to give back to the grooming community. I want to see the industry grow. I want to see groomers want to come into this industry and thrive. I don't want to see groomers with the injuries. As a groomer of a long time, and I'm sure you guys may be able to relate, I have suffered some injuries along the way. And if I would have created this 27 years ago, I probably wouldn't be in the position I'm in now. So I'm looking to help groomers, the pets, and, you know, I just want to help the industry in any way I can.
Wow, great. Well, and I think groomers are more ready to hear it now because there are more voices out there with us talking about the behavior component. But behavior problems are when dogs get hurt, people get hurt, equipment gets broken, and customers lose their minds. And it's bad business. So
Yeah,
if we work on these behavior problems and really spend time on it, whoever it is that relates to you, that, you know, you're like, oh, she totally makes sense to me. But I think people think it's going to take a long time. But working on dogs that have behavior problems with no solution set in mind takes a long time, and it's
right.
risky and it's
Very
frustrating.
nice.
And groomers are getting hurt. Dogs are getting hurt. Groomers are burning out.
Yes.
It breaks my heart to hear groomers saying, I just can't do it anymore. And I'm like, you know what? If we're doing really cute trims on well-behaved dogs, we don't burn out.
Nope, not at all. And if we're having fun in our jobs, we don't burn out. And
Yeah.
it's, grooming is not just a physical, it's very emotional, and it's mentally challenging on days too. When you just have that pet that you think might be neglected, or a pet that is a struggle. I mean, it really does work in us in all ways as well. And that's why I think the enrichment helps, you know, just like all the holistic, it helps the groomer. And one thing I try to explain to people is, you know, when you have lower stress, it's better for your whole life. It's not just going to enhance your life and your grooming experience and your grooming day to day. It's going to make you feel better. Like if you have a bad day at work, that does, even if you don't want it to, it does carry on into your personal life. Or it might carry on even the next day or in your sleep patterns. This is to really help groomers have a better experience themselves with their job and higher satisfaction with their job, their own confidence, just all around. This is just going to be mentally better if people just give it a chance. And I am so honored and so excited that you guys are giving me this platform to talk about it, because I just think if people can understand this and just try it, I do think people will see that it does work.
Yeah.
And it's worth it.
How do you incorporate this to the cats and the felines that you groom?
Actually, I do have a cat groomer. I did used to groom cats myself, but I don't anymore. She actually uses this with the cats as well, and you can do the yoga mats where they can knead it. She uses the different cat toys. You know, of course, we all know that there's like catnip and stuff like that. I'm kind of cautious about that because it can go either way. It can make a cat, you know, even more. So
they can be more relaxed or they can be more feisty.
Yeah, it really
Catnip does weird things.
But it's all about during their grooming process too, to give them that outlet of their nervousness or their energy as well. And some of these things can help relax them. And also, because we do cat only days as well, but through all these activities and through all this, it actually has a calmer environment throughout the whole environment. And that goes a long ways for dogs and cats. Just having that calmer environment and that enriching environment. So that helps the cats during the cat groom. So you can incorporate it. I can't say anything about bunnies because I haven't done a bunny yet or ferret with this yet because we don't groom bunnies or ferrets yet. But we have seen it, like I said, with any dog, I mean, any animal in your facility, you can enhance their groom.
Any secrets for the cats?
Okay, so this is I don't think it's like a secret with the cat. I think it's a secret just in general. I do a seminar, and it's about what's the difference between like going from a pet groomer to an enrichment stylist. And just like with dogs, with cats also, I think you have to be aware of yourself. You have to be aware of your own mindset, and you have to be aware of your own composure and your attitude and your own body language, because your hands tell your story of how you are and how you're feeling. And when you put your hands on that pet, whether you're washing them, drying them, brushing them, whatever, they read that story. So for me, it all starts with the pet stylist, the enrichment stylist actually is what I like to call them. It all starts with the enrichment stylist, and you have to get yourself, if you can't get yourself to at least where you're positive, because there's a lot of people out there that don't come into these issues feeling positive. Maybe they had something happen the day before, or maybe they're going through a bad time. At least get yourself to neutral and have like a clear brain. And if you can get yourself to that point, you're going to see that the pets are just going to react, cats especially, because they'll feed off of your energies. And I think that for our salon, it's about approaching each pet that you're dealing with in a neutral or positive thought process, and that goes a long way.
Yeah, I think a lot of groomers don't necessarily realize that it's really easy for animals to spot when we are frustrated, and it makes them react to it too, much like we respond when a family member is frustrated. Whether
Right.
they're frustrated with us or not, the stress just ripples through the whole house, doesn't it? And I think a lot of groomers don't realize that we have that effect, and sometimes we're creating some of the problem that we're actually seeing.
And what I think a lot of groomers don't think about too is we don't know what is going on at that pet's home prior to them coming here. You might be dealing with a pet whose owner might be anxious bringing the pet. You might have an owner that might be stressed or frustrated. Like, we don't know what's going on in people's houses. Someone might be sick. Someone might be having some, job issues, marital. We just don't know. So it is our job when the pet is in our care to give them the best experience and to give them their time and to give them, the engagement, like to pay attention. Like, that is what we are there for. We are there to be about the pet. And even if they do have a stress environment, we can't control what's in their homes and what they might go home to. But we don't know that for those few hours, maybe that's where they're going to get some stress relief. And we really need to focus about that and understand. And believe me, I'm not saying like that I don't get it. Us as humans do have real problems as well. And we have lots of stressors as well. And I get that, and I understand that, and I don't want to disregard that for anybody, because I do understand there are people that are dealing with a lot of things at home themselves. But what I'm saying is, maybe just for that time that you're working on that pet, try to be conscious that you are there to try to focus on that pet and try to make that pet's experience great, and try to just let go of what you can, because that's where your engagement comes in. And this can build a relationship, not just for this groom, but for future grooms to come. And it should be our goal to have these pets come to us for their lifetime. Mm-hmm. We see these pets more than their vets, and we should let them go to the vet and be scared. Let them come to us and look forward to their grooming and their time with us.
Well, they don't have to be afraid of the vet either. We try to encourage vets to do
enrichment
stuff too.
You're right. They don't, but you're absolutely right. They don't. And I know that there's
when I worked as a vet tech, we used to encourage people to bring their pets in just for a weight and cookies.
Oh, okay.
That's cookies. Great. And we used to do that a lot, especially after something like a spay or a neuter or a surgery or some injury. Just that same enrichment idea that like, well, let's just spend some fun time with them and help them understand that we're buddies. And it goes a long way.
And I do know that like Fear Free actually concentrates a lot now, and I know they're making a lot of way with veterinarians and the pet industry in general. They're going, across everywhere, and that's great too. So there is definitely a need and recognition that this should be in every pet facility out there, whether it's grooming, boarding, daycare, you pet sitting, even if you're going to their house or anything. Like anytime you're engaging with the pet, this should be our main focus.
Because it's also fun. I mean,
It's
isn't that why we do it? We get them. Sometimes I literally get paid to play with puppies.
Exactly.
How cool.
And now you're always told as, oh, you play with dogs all day. I said, I want to be my enrichment counselor. Like, I want to just be that person. I'll just come in, I'll come up with the activities, I'll come up with the fun games. There's a lot you can do. And depending on your facility, on how big your facility, I mean, you don't have to have it. You can do Cinemobile. But if you do have a bigger facility, that just means you can be more engaged. There's so many things you can set up. There's obstacle courses, and of course we always want to tell people you want to make sure that you're doing what is, proper for that pet. Obviously you don't want to have a senior dog doing jumping over obstacles courses. But what I'm saying is, like, you can really expand. You can let your creativity go, and which is great for groomers because we're creative people, and let your juices flow and get this other staff members, get your employees, get your coworkers, get, get everybody's, input on it, and like have fun with it. People have great ideas on how to just make things fun. And if you can't do it that day, write it down and do it another day. I mean, there's so many times you can incorporate this stuff.
Well, and if you listen to some of the things that people have figured out, like taking the pictures, Angie Coates talks about putting on costumes on dogs and taking pictures, and cats and bunnies, and the animals are all like, it's picture time, like that's an enrichment activity for them. But I don't think it started off that way.
No, but they're getting that positive,
they're getting it.
And that's what it's about. And then they're leaving their groom on a good note, on a positive note. And then they're leaving there with a good feeling and a secure feeling. And then it kind of sets them up for the next time they come in. And that's why we just think about, we're building for their lifetime of grooms. And, that's what this is supposed to be all about, is relationship building. Pets in our kids.
They will have grooming needs their entire life. There's never going to be a point when they don't have grooming needs, and building all of this really goodwill with them their whole lifetime means that they probably are not going to resist us later in life, when things are sore and when they start getting some dementia. And
if they start doing, we're knowledgeable or in tune enough to them to say, there's a problem.
Right.
And we need to step back and look at those and readjust us for them.
Exactly. And you may need to let the pet parent know, and then that's when they can find out if there's something more going on. And that's another great thing, because that's building that trust with your clients, your human clients. And how many times do they come to you because they want our advice, or they want our opinion, because they do trust us. So it's about trust all over, with everybody throughout. And I just, the reason why I want to get this out there is I know I made a difference in so many pet lives in my salon, in my care. And I know that I made the pets in our salon happy. I made my staff happier. As long as that's, but I can reach out to more pets everywhere if I can educate and get it out there and have more people doing stuff like this. It's just going to make more pets have that great experience in grooming. And that's my contribution to the world, besides being a foster mom. But in the grooming industry as well. And I just want to see pets be happy during the grooming. It doesn't have to be a traumatic experience. It doesn't have to be scary. It could be actually something they look forward to. Speaking of, my dog's actually looking at his snuffle mat on the ground right now. I look down and here he is by my snuffle mat.
Well, and I think as groomers are more interested in this whole process, for them to know that it doesn't take a lot of time, and you don't actually have to buy anything.
No, you don't.
You don't have to. You can do this with like no budget and just spend a little bit of extra time and just try it out. Try it out this week. Do everything she listed this week on every dog and see what happens.
I mean, and if anybody, I know that a lot of times people they kind of want to see proof in the pudding, like I can sit here and I can talk to everybody and say, this really works, but it's just like an infomercial. You're saying how great this product was. You're like, yeah, right. Does that really work? You know what I mean? And they're like, I know. Um, I do have videos up on my YouTube that anybody is welcome just to look. That is stuff that's done real time in my salon and different kinds of things I do with different types of pets, just to see like that it can work and how to even do some of the stuff. Because when I first started, I didn't even know what some of the stuff was. And it's all about educating yourself and how to incorporate it into your salon. And you don't have to even do it the way I do it. It's not about that. It's about doing it what works for you, what works for the pets. You don't have to do it exactly the way I do it. It's not the actual activity, it's the idea behind it, what we're trying to accomplish. So if it may be something I do, maybe that doesn't work for somebody, but maybe they found something better. I mean, there are enrichment groups out there that they're always coming up with crazy things, and fun things.
Yep.
Every pet is going to be different, and enrichment is such a buzzword now. I mean, you look at human daycares, it's in there. You look at senior living, it's there. I went to the hotel in Orlando for the conference, and their little brochure was about enriching your stay. I mean,
I think the first time I heard it, they were talking about zoo animals. I think that was the first time I heard about enrichment, was they were trying to provide better lives for animals that are living in these enclosures. And,
right.
How can we get them to forage for food and have entertainment,
Yeah. So they're important. And actually, I think a lot of pets in shelters or animal welfares or anything like that, they would benefit from they don't even have to be grooming, but this would benefit a lot of those pets as well. And and that, you can do it at home, even with your pets. This is just something that should be in your pets' daily lives. If you're in an environment like we are, where it's going to be snowing, and some days we get like a lot of snow and you can't get outside or it's too cold. This is a great way to still exercise that pet's brain, to stimulate your pet's brain, and really get that satisfied feeling with them without making them exhausted. Pets don't have to be exhausted. They have to be entertained. They have to be, challenged, just like humans do. Us as humans, and we like that challenge. We like figuring things out. We like being entertained. We don't want to just sit in a chair.
Well, for instance, you talked about reading stories, and that's something that they did a study on in shelters, where what benefited the dogs more? Was it going for a walk with a volunteer or sitting down with a volunteer reading a book? And most dogs did much better just spending calm, casual time with someone reading a book with them.
Yeah.
It was very interesting. It was surprising. A lot of us went, really? More than exercise? Don't they need the exercise? But there's something about just sitting down calmly with a person.
They need, as much as they do need physical exercise, they definitely need their mental and their emotional needs met too. And that's why that's where the holistic part comes in. It's all about the whole entire dog and enriching that whole part of the dog. And you can be physically fit but not be mentally fit. We all know that. You can be emotionally not fit. And this is about making the whole pet fit, whether it's in any kind of way, that you can do it. And that's why I really think that the grooming, we can help that pet, because there might be owners that don't have the time, or they don't know about it, or they don't know how to do it. If we can give them that in our small amount of time that we see them for their visit, it's going to really help them in their lives in general.
Absolutely.
My husband locked him in here, shut the door. Now he's growling to get out the door. He didn't smell him bad, and now he's like, I'm done. I'm ready to go play with the kids.
Well, I love your whole message. Big fan. Really, really love what you're doing.
I want you to know that I really appreciate, I do see you on there, and I see your support. And this support does go a long way, because sometimes you really don't know how people are going to accept it, And it
takes bravery to put yourself out there. Yeah.
And the Facebook Lives are a lot. But it's one thing when you're the owner of a salon and you have a staff and they do it and they seem like they're having fun. But that is like a really, really, really small fraction of the whole grooming know?
Yes.
So to have this opportunity to talk with you ladies and to, really explain why I think it's so important and why people should try it, I very much appreciate it. And I want to let you guys know that.
Well, we appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, I was thrilled to get to meet you. I was like, really? We got her? That's great.
Well, I'm so hoping to meet you at a show one day in person.
Okay.
I'd love to sit down and have some lunch with you guys, or or adult beverages in person, or anything.
We do that after the show.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
always,
right?
but it's really nice to be around like-minded people with you that want to bring the same thing as you do. It's really nice to know that you're not alone in this, and that there are people that want to help you spread your message and encourage you to keep going on. And thank you for that. That means a lot to me. I want you to know that.
Have you been on the council meetings yet?
No, I have not. I have not actually. I was on the one time.
You should
I was
be on the
Master Council for, yeah.
best practices.
Oh no, I am not. You guys have to give me some.
That is Michelle. Well, it's open to anyone, but we all put our information in. We all put our 2 cents in. Anybody can go to the meetings. Master groomers can vote to get the best practices put in place. So we're getting ready to go vote. Well, I'm not a master groomer, but they're getting ready to go vote on
the next year's final product.
Yeah.
She puts one out every year. But just really interesting discussions and people putting forth ideas and us discussing what's current.
Yeah. And the one that I did join was because Jennifer Bishop invited me to, was about how we can keep educating, like to get more people into the industry. And I know that I could have sat in on that one. I wasn't like this where I was able to talk. I just kind of was sitting in and listening and just through the chat, but I haven't been on anything like official.
When was that one?
Oh gosh, I think that was back, I want to say it was May or April or something around that. It was a few months back. Yep. I know I could probably look in my messenger with Jennifer and actually figure it out because she's the one who told me about it. But then of course my days run one into another. But this was a few months back. It was. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of like in the chat because she's like, I'd like, if you want to join, just to kind of listen in. So I just kind of like listen in, and that's actually how I actually became familiar with like your platform and everything.
Mm-hmm. Oh, great.
Oh, so it was one of our shows?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was I was like, what is she? Oh, okay, so it was one of our shows.
It was one, yeah, and that's all. That's the only one that I've actually been on. Like I said, I'm still pretty new at introducing this into the whole world. I was very honored I actually got to speak at All American this year and the Teton Grooming Show. So that was kind of like my kickoff to really into the grooming industry. And then I'm hoping to get more opportunities next year to keep moving forward into this.
If you want to come back to the Teton Show, just let me know.
Okay. Well, I do.
I'll add you to the list.
My goal is to have more behavior stuff at each of these shows. We've got some really nice voices out there in the industry, and we just need more of it. So, woohoo!
That's actually because I do on mine. I just started. I held my first online seminar that I put out there for enrichment grooming. And the first time doing it online with my pet groomer to enrichment stylist, and I did that. And I'm planning more of those in the future. And one thing I did want to talk about is how to recognize the behaviors and like what activities you would put with it. Because I know a lot of times people, you're like, oh, well, I'm not going to know. So I feel like just kind of giving them some ideas and examples, because I don't want people thinking they have to go and be a dog trainer to do this. A lot of this, you just need to learn how to watch, read, and connect with the dog And a lot of them will tell you what they need if you just pay attention to their needs, you know? So I just want to give people examples of different behaviors to look for, you know, warning signs, because we do want to avoid any kind of accidents for anybody, whether it's the pet or the person. You know, and watch for those things. A lot of people just kind of overlook some things. So that is something I'm looking forward to trying to do next year. I've finished my schedule. So, you know, I hope you guys will check it out or
Yeah.
anything like that. I would love to have you guys check it out and let me know what you think.
Woohoo! Excellent.
Will do. Well, we're at our 1 hour mark.
Okay.
So that went quick tonight.
It did. And it was so easy because I'm very passionate about
it. We encourage passion talking.
Yes, we do. So
I can talk about enrichment all day.
Well, we want to thank you for joining us and for your enrichment to us.
Thank you
and
so
passing
much.
that on. And anybody that wanted to reach out to you or get to you, how would they?
So I do have a Facebook page called the Enrichment Stylist. They can go on there and they can PM me, or they can, you know, I usually put things out there. They can make comments in there, or they can email me at the enrichmentstylist@gmail.com and just send me an email. And I'm happy to get back to anybody, as you know, in that way as well. And feel free to ask me any and all questions enrichment. So if there's any way I can help you, I can help you, or even in business. I can put some business questions about how to incorporate it into your business, how to charge for your business, how to, you know, introduce it to your staff, education. So it doesn't just need to be about the activities. We can talk about how to put it into your business as well.
Awesome.
Very good. I am going to add your Facebook link here as soon as it pops up. So
thank you so much. Facebook's usually the easiest because I get all the notifications like right away then, you know.
Let's see here. You are. All right. I am going to post this.
And I don't see who the Facebook user's name is, but somebody's excited to finally attend Jennifer's thing at the Pet Pro Classic and to meet me and everyone else again. Yay!
I wish I was going to the Pet Pro.
Oh, it's going to be fun.
Oh, no.
How about the New England show? That'll be fun too.
Oh, I think she froze. We lost her. Ellie.
Oh, no.
Oh, and my girls are getting. All right. Well, we will see everyone. We will be probably doing some live next week, and because we are at the Pet Pro Classic, and we will see you then. Otherwise, if you missed this, you can view it on the Facebook platforms. You can also hit YouTube. We have these on YouTube. And Chrissy, they are.
The Groomer's Cut is also a podcast, so we've got a couple of episodes up, and we'll be doing that moving forward. So
yes, so we just
Groomer's Cut.
Oh, there
she's back.
All right, there she is. We were just getting ready to say goodbye to everyone. So thank you again for joining us. I posted your link.
Thank you. Yeah, I got disconnected somehow, so that's all right. But thank you so much, ladies.
Sit tight for just a minute, and we'll chat with you in a second here. And thank you, everyone. We will see you next week from the Pet Pro Classic.
Yeah. Woo.